The GM search for the Miami Dolphins is officially over, and the new era officially begins. All right, so the GM search is officially over on this Friday for the Miami Dolphins. They have selected their choice, and it is Jon-Eric Sullivan, the guy from the Green Bay Packers who knows pretty much everything when it comes down to player personnel and player development. As I mentioned yesterday, it ultimately came down to two candidates. It came down to Jon-Eric Sullivan, who I said on yesterday's video, if you haven't checked it out, I said that this is the guy that's probably the most positioned and ready for the job. He's probably going to be the guy that's going to be able to set this team into the future, into those brighter days that we all talked about. But on the other hand, you had Chad Alexander. I wasn't too big of a fan on, but the knock on him was, the thing about him was, if you get him, you most likely are getting John Harbaugh, who all of us, including myself, want to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Now, John Harbaugh hasn't signed anywhere, so that remains to be seen whether he chooses Miami, whether he chooses New York. But this GM search, it kind of put into a perspective to me. I said, if the Dolphins go on Friday and select Chad Alexander, it tells me that John Harbaugh is definitely coming to Miami. But I said, if they don't, then I think John Harbaugh ends up being with the New York Giants. And ultimately, though, it came down to the Dolphins selecting Jon-Eric Sullivan. And I think that's the good pick, because what the Dolphins did is they took the guy that's ready for the job with a better kind of resume, in my opinion, to set this team to where it needs to be. They didn't want to go and take the chance. Let me just pick a guy that's underqualified in Chad Alexander just because he has a relationship with John Harbaugh and it'll get me John Harbaugh. The Dolphins went with the approach that is kind of the smarter approach, the long-term approach, which is how this Dolphins team is going to be rebuilt in the right direction anyway. That's what the Dolphins showed me. They showed me they went with the quality asset in Jon-Eric Sullivan, who's going to build this team for years to come and not just a little, one-hit wonder, right? Just to get John Harbaugh real quick and try to get yourself a quick little championship here and there. They went with a long-term investment, and I think this was ultimately the right move. Although I really do, and I still do want John Harbaugh. I think this definitely tanks that hope for the Dolphins to get him. But still, I do think that this general manager is exactly what the Dolphins needed. The Dolphins are in a bad situation right now. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but you got a guy that has literally been quoted on interviews saying that this is his specialty: player development, player personnel, and just spotting talent, right? Putting people on a roster. That's what you want from the GM. He's not the teaching type, right? He's just a talent evaluator, and that's what the Dolphins need. They need to be able to hit on these draft picks, a guy that's being able to evaluate talent in free agency. And like I mentioned, the draft, that's the most important. If you can draft well, retain your own players, that's how you've been a sustainable product. And they've been doing that in Green Bay. And obviously the connections go. He has connections with the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Apparently he's going to be, maybe a potential fit for the Dolphins as a head coach. We talk about Mike McCarthy. He has a relationship with him. That's a former head coach that has won a Super Bowl before. So there's definitely options out there. But ultimately, I think this is a nice hire for the Miami Dolphins. I think Dolphin fans should be excited because, like I mentioned before, this is the guy that ultimately is better. When you talk about GM versus GM, this guy is going to be a better GM than Chad Alexander would have been, in my opinion. So the Dolphins said, for my GM, I want the best GM. I'm picking quality here. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm kind of surprised because normally you would think that the Dolphins will probably take the less qualified guy just because it'll net you the next big thing. But then what happens, right? Then you have a situation where John Harbaugh comes in. John Harbaugh's in full control of the roster, and then he's kind of playing head coach and GM at the same time. This right now creates an avenue where my GM is my GM, my head coach is my head coach, my quarterback is my quarterback, and everyone kind of stays in their lane, right? How many times have we gotten into that issue before with Chris Greer, right? Trying to please the head coach, doing what the head coach wants, and all of these people stepping in people's jobs, right? Stephen Ross, stepping into the GM spot, the GM spec, all of this stuff. No, Let everyone have their roles. And I think the Dolphins are taking the right approach. It's something that I haven't seen from this franchise ever, or quite some time, ever since I've been a fan. This right here, I think, is going to be good, man. And this is, face it, this is a new era. All right. This is a new era that I think fans should ultimately be optimistic about. And you kind of have to see this play out. See how Sullivan drafts players, see how he acquires players. Look at the head coach he picks. Give them about 3 years to really get a sense of the direction we're going. If you kind of see a direction and you see some smash hits in the draft, I think you got yourself a damn good general manager. And I think Sullivan is going to be. And it really comes down to what I said, man. The Dolphins really shocked me because I thought it was Chad Alexander. I just thought, the way Ross is, he's going to pick the guy that's going to get him the guy he wants, and then he's going to overpay for Harbaugh. I thought that's how it was going to go. But it did tell me something today, man. Like, the Dolphins took the smart approach and the investment of the future. This is not just the 1 to 2 year thing that we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish sustained success. And that's what we need. We don't want to have a team with, it's been 25, 26 years since we won one playoff game. Are we going to put all our eggs to accomplish that goal to win one playoff game? Or do we want to win multiple? Do we want to be in the playoffs multiple years? Do we want to be in the conversations multiple years? Well, to get that, you got to have a damn good GM. And I think this is the guy, ultimately, that's going to lead us in our direction. Work still has to be done, all right? We still need to see how this guy plays out. But there's hope. And if there's one thing that us Dolphin fans have needed from all the heartbreak that we've gone through, is hope. Something to look forward to. Something to be intrigued by. All right? We clocked out with McDaniel. We clocked out with Tua. Like, that whole core was just, we were all over it. How miserable was it watching the Dolphins this season? It was miserable the whole year, even with a winning streak. It was miserable. At least now we have something to look forward to. Whether we come out and lose games and we don't make it to the playoffs in year one, which I don't expect, at least you might be able to have hope in the vision going forward with the new general manager. But now all eyes on the head coach. The Dolphins have officially selected their GM. Now we lean towards who is going to be the head coach. You got Mike McCarthy out there. You got the defensive coordinator from the Green Bay Packers, who's done a phenomenal job with the Packers this past season. Harbaugh might be still in the mix. Anthony Weaver is a possibility. The Dolphins got options, and it'll be really, really interesting to see how this goes and who Jon-Eric Sullivan ultimately is going to pick. But, man, the GM's the most important part. Having the right GM in-house is going to set you up for the future. This is a good day for Dolphin fans. It's been a good week for Miami. You got the Hurricanes advancing to the championship. You got Mike McDaniel. There's so many positive things coming out of Miami right now, in Miami right now. And I think optimism and hope should be what the Dolphin fans are feeling right now. Like I said, man, obviously he's got his work cut out for him. He's got a lot of work to do, and we shall see. I'll definitely critique him as he goes along. But for right now, I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling hopeful, and I'm willing to give this guy 3 years to kind of show me of if what I say is actually true, which is that this guy is the most qualified and ready for this job. I love the quotes that what I'm hearing about him. Let's see who the head coach is going to be. All right. Let me know what you guys think on the hire for the general manager. Let me know who you want to be the head coach on the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button. Fins up, everyone. Today's a good day. The new era begins in Miami.